Now, I actually forgot to ask this question, right? We talk about cryptocurrencies in general, but specifically, what is Bitcoin?
Okay. The simplest definition I can give is that Bitcoin is a record of transactions on a ledger.
Okay.
Right? Let me try to break that down in the simplest way possible. It's a bit difficult sometimes to wrap our heads around it because it's so different a concept from what we know.
Right.
So imagine, like, for example, everybody around the table is taking notes of like, let's say we play a game of Monopoly. That's usually the example that's used, okay? Usually there's a banker in Monopoly, right? And the banker keeps track of everything. The other players just play and all that, but they may not keep track so closely. The banker keeps track of everything. That's a centralized system that we're used to. The bank keeps track of the flow of money. Let's say we decentralize it to come to Bitcoin, right? You have a notepad where you're keeping track of the transactions. You have a notepad and I have a notepad and we're all keeping track of the transactions. Bitcoin represents that sort of like that record that we are writing, that, okay, you have 100, let's say you start with 100 Bitcoin, and then you give me 10 Bitcoin, and then you give him 20 Bitcoin, and I buy more from you. And so I have a ledger saying that if I total up this 100 minus 10 minus 20, that's how much Bitcoin I have.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of what Bitcoin is. It's a record of transactions. Right? But even I sometimes, when I explain to people, I'm like, wow, it's tough to wrap your head around it. Right? And so I ask them, I ask my students usually, like, anybody know what a Bitcoin looks like? They were like, Bitcoin, everybody talk about it. Nobody knows what it looks like, you know. They don't know. They think it's like a gold coin. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just tapped like that. I show them a picture and it's just numbers, lines.
It's codes.
And they're like, yeah, this is Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, this is Bitcoin. It is a flow of transactions from one account to another account. And that record is what makes it special, is that record cannot be manipulated, cannot be hacked, cannot be changed, is immutable, is only one way, it cannot go back in reverse. And that is what Bitcoin represents, I think. This immutable record of transactions, right? And that's how that's the best way, I think, of explaining Bitcoin.
Before we begin the podcast, have you gotten your free ebook? It's called the Build a Six-Figure Portfolio Guidebook. Now, inside it, we share with you the tips and tricks to bring your stock investing skills to the next level. The best part, it's only 10 pages long and it's totally free. Whether you're on Spotify or YouTube, the link to download is in the description, or you can go to www.firl.co/FREE or www.firl.co/free. Hello everyone, welcome back to the FIRL Podcast, best place for long-term stock investors or stock investors in general. Today we have a very interesting, special, awesome, unique guest, a very non-fungible guest.
Wow, I love that term, man.
Non-fungible guest, right? For those who don't know what that means, this non-fungible guest will explain what non-fungible will be at the end, nearer to the end of the podcast. So anyway, today we have with us a lecturer of psychology, right, at a very famous university in Malaysia. 99% completed his masters, right? I asked him before the chat, right? Will I jinx it if I say 90%? No, 99% is pretty good odds. Also an MC. He has also appeared on ads for the one that I remember the most, Shopee. He's often confused with a broccoli.
Yes, indeed.
And in recent times, he is a crypto enthusiast.
Yeah, that's right.
And he does a lot to educate people with base or zero-based knowledge on cryptocurrencies. Welcome to the podcast, Ross Stephenson.
Hi, John. Nice to be here, John and MJ. I really appreciate you guys inviting me, and I'm looking forward to sharing more about crypto and anything you want to know about my life, investment. You know, it's going to be an exciting time, I think.
So,
shall we dissect the hair first?
No.
Sure. This one is non-fungible, John. So this one cannot touch one.
So I mean, speaking of the hair, right? I know recently you applied for a book of records. You want to talk about it? Okay, so guys, just context, right? Ross recently applied to be on the Malaysian Book of Guinness Book of Records.
No,
right?
so it's called. So there's the Guinness Book of Records is the world one.
Right,
So that's
right.
around the world, anybody can go for that one. I'm applying for the local one, the Malaysia Book of Records.
Okay.
So the Malaysia Book of Records is just for Malaysian achievements
More
and stuff like
halal
that. More
No
halal,
Guinness,
definitely.
It's a bit lame lah.
Less competition lah. Less competition. Put it that way. I could have applied for the Guinness World one, but there's already a Guinness World Record winner.
Yeah.
Her hair is about 150 cm around there in circumference.
Right.
They measure by circumference. I think my hair used to be like that before I shaved bald. So about 2.5 years ago, I shaved bald in 2018. And now I look back, I was like, oh man, if I kept it until now, maybe I can fight Guinness World Record.
Yeah, man.
But never mind lah. So I've been growing my hair out. It's about 109, 110 cm in circumference.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is pretty big. So I submitted an application.
Okay.
And they accepted it.
Wow.
They were, wow. I don't think there's anybody who else submitted. Maybe Dato Devi Arumugam lah, maybe. So I submitted this. They just said, grow it a little bit bigger.
Okay.
So it's a bit more impressive.
Yeah.
And then they will be able to do the auditing for me. And I'm even going to have it as a fundraiser. So people want to donate. And then I really want to say thank you to the Malaysian Book of Records people. They were willing to reduce the fees by 50%.
Wow.
And the remainder, whatever extra is fundraised, will go to charity.
Wow.
Solid.
So yeah, I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. I get something out of it. Charitable cause gets something out of it. Malaysia Book of Records, and everybody gets to enjoy. I think the fun. Yeah.
So what do you think your chances? Good chance?
Oh, I think pretty good. I think pretty good chance. I think pretty good. I haven't really seen many big afros in Malaysia.
Yeah.
I've seen people with afro hair. I've seen a few big ones, but
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty big. I look at the camera so like wow. Because I don't see my own hair,
Correct.
Other
Yeah.
people tell me, wow, your hair is big. Then I look in the mirror, I was like, oh yeah, it is big. And
Yeah, it is.
my father is bald at home. So, when I compare, I was like, yeah, actually my hair is big.
The contrast is
The
huge.
contrast is very big, depending on who's standing next to me.
Yeah. When do you decide in your life where like, you know what? I think I can have an afro.
Oh, so that's a fun story.
Yeah.
So most of my life, I didn't actually know I can grow an afro.
Okay.
Yeah, because
didn't
your
know.
dad's bald, right? It's
Exactly.
like, how
I've known him from a young child. I know him either with very little hair or completely bald. So I
Yeah.
never knew he had an afro until I turned 17. So
Okay.
for 17 years of my life, I had short hair. I never even knew I could grow an afro.
I see.
I thought just normal short hair like for a normal Indian boy. And then when I was 17 in college, for some reason, I stumbled across some old family pictures
Okay.
at home. And I found a picture of my dad when he was in university, and he had this beautiful afro.
Oh.
I don't know if I can show you on my phone or whatever. Then maybe I can give you a picture of it.
Okay. Sure.
And then you can show it to your audience as well. Like that. It's quite incredible. And he had like those days like playing the guitar lah. He was in a band lah. So he had the afro for the right time in history,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
For the right time in history. And then when I saw that picture, see if I can get on my phone. I saw the picture. I was like, wow, my father would look really cool,
Yeah, actually that makes sense because like during my
Yeah.
dad's era.
That's him. Can you see?
Wow.
That is my dad when he was at university. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you can
show
see
it to this camera. Yeah. There you go.
See if I can.
It's focused already.
You can see it, right? Yeah, you can
it's
see it.
Focused.
So that's my dad, and then next to it is my brother.
Wow.
Wow.
See if I can get
No.
the screen brightness down a bit, then
Yeah.
maybe you can see.
There
Okay,
you
that's my
go.
brother.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my brother over there. So he only did it ever once. He combed out his hair like that, and then finally, okay, now it's more in focus, right?
Yeah, because it's closer to your face.
Okay. So that's
Yeah.
my dad,
Okay.
right? My brother.
Actually, what if he points it in that camera? Is that will it work?
This one.
Yeah, because this one has an auto zoom.
Can see.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see. Okay, that's my dad with the guitar and everything. He's in you study in University of Malaya, just like me as well.
Okay.
And then my brother, and then finally, me.
Wow.
This is like levels, man. It's
Yeah,
like small,
exactly.
medium,
It's the whole family,
large,
man.
Hey,
Yeah.
just to give context, 102 cm, that's actually the height of probably a 4 or 5-year-old kid.
Oh, really?
Because my
Yeah.
kids are
Actually.
that height during the age, what?
Really?
You think
circumference.
100
It's
mass circumference, man. That's why I was just thinking about it when it was saying
Circumference,
102. My gosh.
And something
Wow.
cm.
And you know why it brought a lot? Because when you bring your kids to, theme parks,
Yes,
they have to
you
measure the height.
Yeah.
So most of the rides is 110 cm.
Oh,
So
your
like
hair
roller
can go
coaster,
on the right
okay,
side.
okay.
your once you go to 150, your hair can take your hair circumference can take a ride.
Wow.
My hair can detach itself and go on the right by itself. Oh man.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Look, I think I so many more questions about your hair, but I don't think this is the. this is the
We can have
podcast
another
for it.
session.
Definitely.
Yeah, hair care.
So I think what interests me is how is it that a person with an afro, lecturer at psychology, actually got into investing? I
okay.
think that's something I really want to know.
Yeah. So how it happened was when I was growing up, my father was very much. He always allowed me to go for any of these like holiday workshops for kids and all that. Investment lah, leadership lah, and all that. And I had this very nice guy named Mr. Das. He would do all these holiday workshops for kids.
I see.
I learned magic from him. I learned leadership skills from him. I learned
Is he still doing it?
Of course, during MCO can't really do the same business anymore. But hopefully, once everything opens, he'll come and resume the business again or move online. Yeah. And then he had classes on financial investment.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Financial. He called it financial intelligence. This was years ago.
Okay.
And that introduced me to this concept of stocks and investment. I was a young boy, probably a young teenager at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And my father was very encouraging. He was like, go and learn and all that. And my father would then help me buy. So like I would save up money from Ang Pao money and all that.
Okay.
Because I was just a kid, I didn't really spend much.
Okay.
And when I had like 1,000 ringgit, he would go and buy Genting stock for me. That was the first stock I ever owned. Well, owned under my father's name. I understand. So I was so excited. I was like, wow, this cool thing. And I most of my friends at the time, everybody's just playing computer games and stuff, including myself. But I was like, okay, it's cool. Like, there's this world of investment. I'm still new to it. I don't really understand it. And then my father bought Genting. And I'm like, the only thing I know about Genting is that they got a theme park. Right, as a child. That's all I was thinking. Like, what is a stock? I don't really know. But I know I go there. So I was like, okay, I feel special. Yeah. Right? And then my father sold the Genting stock. I wish he had kept it until now. Then I could have probably retired. But I mean, it was interesting experience. So that right in my teenage years, I was exposed to it thanks to my dad. Right, and then I went for these classes, and then from there I started learning on my own, discovering more. I went for more classes and educated myself about stocks investment and then I like to experiment. So I like to try different things. Oftentimes what I notice is that once you start typing words like investment and stocks and everything, all the ads start popping up.
That's right.
Hey, come for this free talk lah. Hey, I'll teach you how to be a millionaire lah. Blah blah blah. And so I would go for the free sessions. I would always go for a free session.
Right.
And there are so many. And what I would do is I would just sit down and listen openly. And I noticed one bias in most of these sessions.
Which was?
If the person was like from a unit trust background, they'll say unit trust is the best. You need to trust us and you need to follow our own product.
It's a good pun, man.
Exactly.
Unit trust.
And then and then if it's insurance agents, hey, no, Ross, this insurance, investment linked insurance, and then they are the best. And then if it's someone from the stocks, they, hey, stocks is the best. And then property is the best. So everybody has their own niche. And while I appreciate that, they all share their own niche, I never really liked the fact that everybody only wants to sell their product.
Understand.
It's their product. I rather have an understanding of investment, right? And show me a few different products, and then let me decide what works best for me. So I would listen to different sectors, and then I would go and invest myself. So I like unit trust. I would go and find one unit trust person, then go and invest and see the returns over 3 years.
Okay.
And then I'll go to fixed deposit and just put in money for 1 year and then see what the returns are. Then gold, I'll just buy gold and then just see what the returns are. And so that's how my journey sort of like started from young. And then just me having that natural curiosity to understand and to learn, and then just go and experiment.
Right.
Yeah.
So you said, sorry.
Yeah. So if you contrast yourself to your peers, right? What did when you tried to discuss this with them at your age, right? What was the resistance that you faced? Because obviously you're very lucky. Your parents actually allowed you to have this kind of what we call sandbox. But what about your peers? What do you think was blocking them mentally? Was it the environment they had? Was it because of, I don't think, lack of capital? Because you also had predicament.
You start small, right?
You start small.
I also started small. I think the biggest challenge was that they just don't have exposure.
Okay.
Young people are not exposed to investing and finance. Not in my opinion. Many of my peers don't have that many savings. I talk to them about EPF. They're like, I don't really put money in EPF. I'm like, okay. And then, when you see the way that they spend and the way that they save, there's nothing about saving. Everything's about spending.
Okay.
Our economy is all spend.
Yeah.
Nobody's about saving and investment and all that. And I think I was thankful, like you said, my parents, exposed me from a young age.
Okay.
So I had more time to learn.
Understand.
And then my peers, I feel like, there are, of course, now that I'm in investment and I'm in the different circles of people.
That's right.
And many of us talk about the same thing. But there are still many out there, I think, that don't know. My brother, in fact, Richard, he works in a company that does like financial training for B40 schools. These really poor schools, and then they want to help them, build them up, teach them even something how to menabung, how to save and all that. They really don't know,
Okay.
And so that awareness, I think, is lacking in a lot of society. And because the way our economy works is like just buy.
Understand.
Nobody says save. Well, some people do in our small little niche lah.
Yes, it's bubble.
Exactly, it's a bubble of investment. Everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
You all know Suyin lah, Ziet lah, me lah, FIRL lah. You know, we all know each other. But now I'm hoping that slowly as time goes by, more and more people will come to it.
The bubble gets bigger.
The bubble gets bigger. But you know, things like crypto, for example, hot topic, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. And then, you know, you use that as a platform to get into people's minds because, you know, it's in the newspapers lah. People are talking about it. It's hot topic, ma.
Yes.
Then now I think people are more opening up. Oh, what is investment? Ross, can you teach me? And I'm getting a lot of these DMs. And, hey, Ross, can you show me what to do? Can you teach me what to do?
Yeah.
Which I never got previously.
I see.
Yeah. Now people are seeking me out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much more to crypto than just the price.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
So much more. Okay, we'll talk about that later on. So you said that, okay, technically your first investment was Genting, but technically also not really because it was your dad.
My dad who bought it for me with my money.
Which is the first investment that you made on anything that is your decision? Like it's 100% Ross decided to buy this.
Yeah.
You were the trigger puller.
Oh, definitely. This was an investment called G-Tronic.
Wow.
Oh man, possibly one of the best investments I ever made. So I went for a free half-day workshop by a company called Equity Striker, and I met both of you there. Exactly. Yeah. So that's where I went, and I first understood what fundamental analysis was about, how to do an investment, all that. And then during the talk, people ask, what kind of stocks are good to look at right now.
Yeah.
And then the trainer that day, I can't remember who it was, and then they mentioned this company called G-Tronic. I never heard of them.
Okay.
Don't know what they do. Something to do with electronic tech stuff and all that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay lah, let me just look at it, and then I just try lah. And then I looked at it a little bit briefly and all that. Look at the charts and everything. Wow, seems like a good company, good fundamentals, as they say.
Yeah.
Very profitable and stuff. So I just put in some money. I can't remember how much. Just put in maybe 1-2K.
Okay.
And then it just kept going up. Then I bought some more DCA. And then just up some more. I was like, okay, I bought some more. And then I bought that. And then I also really like Nestle as well. Because people say it's like the gold standard of what is a good stock in fundamental terms.
Yeah.
So I bought that as well. And those, I think, were my first two stocks that I bought.
And it's
G-Tronic
positive.
and Nestle.
If you've held since then, you should be still
I
pretty
never
good.
lost any money on those two stocks.
Right. So I just wanna for our listeners, right?
Yeah.
I just wanna get a sense of the returns. Are you still holding these companies?
Am I still holding Nestle? Yes, Nestle. I don't plan to
Oh
sell
my God.
until
Okay.
I die
So
lah.
so when
He attended VIP
Yes.
when I was teaching.
Yes,
So
yes, you
that
were my
was
trainer.
2018.
Ooh, yeah.
It should be about 80 to.
so
should
you've
be-
doubled.
Yeah,
actually.
double.
You've
Almost
nearly
double lah.
doubled.
Yeah.
Because since sorry, I don't know why the internet is taking so long.
Yeah.
But
But I did take some profit on G-Tronic. So I did sell
Sure.
to
Okay.
invest elsewhere.
Yeah.
So that one I don't hold as much. I think I still hold a little bit, yeah. But
Okay.
Nestle, I plan to hold until I die lah.
Yeah.
so
'Cause
you would
this
be
phone-
Yes.
The color sensor on it,
Yeah.
very likely was manufactured by G-Tronic.
Oh, was it? You think so?
So
For
this
iPhone?
Yeah. So like this color
Ah.
sensors here.
Yes, it was about sensors, I think. That's why I like
Yeah,
G-Tronic because,
yeah.
everybody needs a sensor.
Yeah.
So
Wherever,
you
yeah.
probably be up about 40%, I think,
Mm.
and then you add in the dividends, and all that, so it's probably a bit higher. So
Yeah.
I would guesstimate lah. You're probably at about 50%,
Yeah.
6%.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Actually, one of the problems I have with my investing is that I don't really keep a good track of the numbers. So like I kind of vaguely know what I bought, and I vaguely know how much I bought, and I vaguely know that I'm making
Right.
profit, but I don't really keep track. So there's one thing I really need, and good that you mentioned it, because I keep reminding myself, keep a spreadsheet, keep track, so that
Oh.
I know,
I can give you tips to a free tool.
Okay,
That you
yeah.
don't even need to manually key in actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
so we
okay,
can.
okay.
It's gonna it's gonna diverge. So
That'll be good. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Because I really don't keep track. People always ask me, so how much have you made? I'm like, I know it's positive lah.
Yeah.
That one I know is
But
good enough to make me happy.
Ross, I think your benefit would be because it is a close. You withdraw some,
yeah.
but you didn't top up that much, right?
No.
Okay, so in a way, it's a semi-closed fund, so it's easier to calculate.
Calculate. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
why.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, G-Tronic, I'm looking at it. So based on when you bought it, you
2018,
probably also be about 50-60% up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Around
excellent,
that time lah.
excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now those are your first. You can say first two, right?
First two,
first
yeah,
two,
first
right?
two.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Great start. Now then, of course, it's been 3 years, right? Since
Yep.
then, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
you've been investing for 3 plus years. What would you say is your best investment and then your worst? You can talk about your worst first, also can, no problem.
Okay. The worst one was I think it was more about my my mentality as an investor that was not mature yet.
Okay.
Right? So the worst investment I made was I had a lump sum of money, and I wanted to invest it for a long term.
Right.
And I bought into a company called WeChat. Right. So WeChat in
Tencent, right?
Tencent, basically Tencent. And it was very, very good. A lot of positive news. People like, wow, WeChat Pay is coming to Malaysia lah, this news lah, that news lah. My friends were talking about it. I thought, oh, seems like a good investment. And then, of course, I made the fundamental error of listening to other people's voices. And then so I bought. It was supposed to be only 15K. I accidentally bought twice, or my broker, I don't know
Margin
what happened lah.
Margin.
Something happened where it accidentally bought 2 lots instead of 1.
Wow.
So it went in 30K. I was like, okay, it's a good company. Good company. Everybody say good company must be good company, And then then China-US trade war.
Okay.
Price took a plunge, and then there was some ban on China mobile games for some time. And then price took another plunge, and I lost about half of my money.
So 30K down to
15K. Then I was talking to my father about it, and it's like, just take out lah. Let me, I recommend maybe you put in warrants lah. Warrants very cheap. Again, another fundamental error. Sometimes, you listen to certain people, and then, I shouldn't say my father. Never mind lah, it's true lah. He knows, like, he also invested in it.
Okay.
He still loves me, and then he introduced me to stocks. Okay, I thank him for that. But the warrants, I'll never forget the nightmare that it was. So I took out the 15K. I thought, okay, I put in warrants. Oh, warrants very cheap, very cheap. So if it's very cheap and the price moves a bit, you make profit, right?
Correct, because quantity ma.
Exactly. So I thought, okay, makes sense. Put into, should I say the name of the warrant? No. Maybe I won't say lah. A local company warrant, but they've got international presence.
Okay.
And then for some reason, the price took another plunge. I don't know what happened. And so I lost from 15K, went down to 4K.
Oh.
So that was the worst investment decision, from 30K to 15K, 15K to 4K. And I looked at it, I was like, oh my goodness me.
90% wealth destruction.
Gone. Like within one to 2 years, just gone like that. Just unlucky lah. I mean, if not for the USA trade war, the price would have skyrocketed, right? It was really doing well. And then of course the problem I had was the wrong mentality. I went in with I started panicking when the price went down. But the proper mentality, I think, should have been to hold it for long term. And if I held it until today, I'd be in the positive. If I held Tencent until today. So when I look back, I was like, okay, that's a really good learning lesson for me. And then, so that's the worst investment, right? The worst. And then on the flip side, I took the remainder 4K. And then my friend said, hey, Ross, have you heard of Bitcoin? And I was like, in 2017, I was actually skeptical of Bitcoin. I remember a Facebook post that I wrote in 2017. Saying, I think Bitcoin is a bubble. It's just like the tulips. People are buying tulips for selling houses to buy tulip. Bitcoin has no asset behind it. Nothing was bad. I was really against it. I was very skeptical about it. And then in 2017, it crashed. I was like, wow, okay, confirm my theories lah.
Okay.
Then 2 years later, my friend said, hey, Ross, you want to try investing in Bitcoin? At the point with 4K, from 30 to 4K, I was like, what's the worst that can happen? Okay lah, high risk, high reward lah. Okay lah, put in all the 4K. I bought in Ethereum at the time. Ethereum was more affordable than Bitcoin. So I bought Ethereum when it was 123 USD.
Oh man.
Nice.
I sold it when that 4K turned into 25K.
Wow.
I told myself, I don't want to be greedy. God help me not be greedy. And I was thinking, should I just keep it? Should I keep it? I was like, I don't want to be greedy. I sold it for 25K. I told my dad, my dad paid for my car. So I paid him back the car loan.
Okay.
So I live debt free. So from 30K to 4K, worst investment.
Okay.
4K to 25K, best investment, paid off all my debt. So I live debt free. And I was like, wow, what like really roller coaster, man. Like,
it's right to the trough and then now back to the
boom,
peak.
back to the
But
peak.
I guess, and I want to connect this to the next question, which is that I guess this peak to trough experience, right, taught you so much about psychology, which is your field.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? So coming from academia, right, how would, based on the tools that you've learned, right, how would you actually apply it in your own experience, or even the experience that you see in others? How would you basically psychoanalyze yourself based on your behavior throughout these 3 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson was to not panic, as I see people do and I myself do, and it's very easy to get emotionally involved in particular, when the market is changing. And I think the biggest lesson was just, if I have a strategy, stick to the strategy.
Okay.
And so when all of this happened, what I did was I came up with a spreadsheet of my own, and I would put, okay, this is what the company profits are, this is, and I would write it down so that I would stick to that strategy.
I see.
Right.
And as much as I wanted to divert, I would tell myself, no, stick to the strategy. And that helped a lot. I think that helped a lot. I'm not sure what concept in psychology I can apply to that specifically. But I think definitely in terms of like selling and panic is fear lah. It's just that fear that you're losing money. And that is a very strong fear in human beings, right?
Yes.
Pain and fear is very, very strong motivators. And so I often just take a step back and I'll just relax and tell myself, you know what? The world will still keep on spinning tomorrow, even if I lose money. You know, I will still have a home, a family and all that. So I remind myself of the concrete things in life. As one of my friends who's a counselor, he calls it grounding. Keep yourself grounded, right? The market can fluctuate, let it fluctuate.
Yeah.
Keep yourself grounded on something that's more concrete,
Understand.
right? And for me, whether it's God, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whatever it is, keep yourself grounded in something that is concrete, and that will keep you steady in turbulent times.
Sorry to interrupt this podcast. I know it's a little bit annoying, but I want to tell you something that I think can be really helpful to you. I can tell you're really interested in the stock market and want to learn more about it so that you actually know what you're doing, especially when today things are getting more complex and complicated. That's why we came up with the Stock Investing Blueprint, or SIB. It's our signature e-learning program that teaches you how to pick the right stocks most of the time, buy and sell it at the best possible time, and manage your stock portfolio systematically. It currently has more than 10 hours of content and it's growing. You'll also be part of a group of like-minded investors that can help speed up your learning process. To hop on the program, click on the link in the description or go to learn.firl.co/courses/SIB.
What other things besides what do you think can help in helping you get that kind of confidence? Was it because of your reading? Was it because of you continuously seeking out understanding of whatever you were buying? Was that something that helped in a way?
I think it's a combination of one, getting educated. So that's very important. Okay. Education is the best investment you can do on yourself. And my father has always promoted that, encouraged me to get educated. And he always paid for it. So that's good. Yeah. The second one is actually another E, which is evaluation. I think it's important, and people forget this, to look back at what your mistakes are and learn from them. And that's when you improve. Right? If you just make mistakes, but you don't evaluate what went wrong, you never change. Right? I look back and I was like, what did I do that was wrong? I was like, okay, I panicked. I should have had a strategy. I didn't hold in the long term like a proper fundamental investor should have. And that's why I learned from that. I was like, okay, now I know better. Now I'm much more comfortable holding. Market go up, market go down. My friends are all panicking. I was like, it's okay. I'm here for the 5 years. I'm here for the 5 years, not for the 3 months.
So the time horizon actually helped you as well.
Exactly. Learning from those mistakes. I think that's important. The education part and the evaluation. People learn. They go for a lot of courses. They got a lot of head knowledge. But when they don't look at their mistakes and ask them honestly, what could I have done better? What did I do wrong?
Very good point.
I think that helps.
So speaking, you mentioned something very interesting, which is you're here for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I assume you're still deep into crypto.
Yes. So I mean, so ever since I had that positive experience with Ethereum, when I sold it and I got back a lot of money, I was like, okay, wow, there is some value here. And so at that time, I still didn't know much about it. I just put it in because I had nothing to lose with 4K, right?
That's right.
So then after my friend talked to me more about it, then I went to do my own research. I went on a deep dive, right? As deep as I could. And I was like, okay, so this is a very different world than what I thought it was in 2017. I understood it better. I was watching more videos about it. In fact, if you go on YouTube, I realized this. There are a lot of TED Talks, very good TED Talks on blockchain and technology and cryptocurrency, which were posted 6 years ago. 6 years ago, experts in the industry already knew blockchain is going to be the future. 6 years ago. Whoever spotted it, good for them. They would have been part of, amazing benefits to them. I didn't spot that yet. Now when I look back, I was like, oh, okay. So actually there was an interesting trend that was going on behind the scenes. Now, of course, it's become a buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. And I'm glad I got into it about somewhere around last year, right?
All right.
And so I've been in the scene since then and educating myself. Every day there is something new in crypto. At least the stock market doesn't change so much, it's a bit more stable. But every day there's something new for me to learn. And I also cannot keep track.
A new protocol.
There are words that I like, jargon that even I am struggling to keep up with.
Okay. So having done this for almost a year, right? Why do you think people need to care about crypto? Let's start with that first.
I love that question. I talk about it on Thursday nights in my introduction classes. And I think the reason why people need to care is this. Progress is inevitable. And what I mean by that is that whether you like it or not, things are going to change.
Yes.
Now, I'll give you a simple example. those days we use big bulky phones, right? Those big ringing phones with the circle. I bet young people also don't know what I'm doing. Circle. Is it going mad, right?
Yeah.
You have to turn the circle. My grandmother had a phone like that. She never had a mobile phone. My grandma could never use one.
Okay.
But when she was in her lifetime, we had mobile phones and stuff like that. And so, when my mother was in the car one day, she told my grandmother, hey, can you pass my mobile phone? I'm going out.
Yeah.
Then my mother was there bringing up the big phone to her, and I was like, and my mother's like, Ross, go and bring my handphone.
Wow.
So whether my grandmother liked it or not, progress is inevitable. And if she doesn't learn to adapt, she would have been left behind.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing is to with cryptocurrency. A good example is money. Money started with barter trade. You got a cow, I got 3 chicken, I give you 3 chicken, you give me cow. Of course.
What a trade, man.
Exactly. Well, if I really needed the cow and you really need the chicken, then it's valuable, right?
Yes,
and then it moved from there to maybe stones or whatever precious things, and then metals, and then you mint a coin, stamp the picture of your king and queen on the coin, and that's valuable. And then finally move to paper, and then all bank drafts and checks and all that. Then finally currency, countries control it, sovereign currency and all that. Then finally, all currencies moved online. You've got online bank accounts, ATM,
That's
everything.
right.
I can just tap my phone, tap my card,
QR code,
PayWave and all that.
Yeah.
We accept it, but actually these are revolutionary if you think about it in the timeline of the evolution of money.
Correct.
So I tell people, okay, now everything has gone online. What do you think is the next step in evolution?
Yeah.
Evolution hasn't stopped, right? I mean, in terms of money, right? It's always improving, becoming better year after year. What do you think is the next step? My personal opinion, I think blockchain and cryptocurrency is going to be the next step.
Right.
And we are already in it, right? So if you're in it, you're one of the 1% in the world that's ready for the revolution, right?
Yeah.
What comes after that, I also don't know lah. Maybe some, mental money. I don't know. Who knows lah? Who knows what comes next? And so that's usually the argument I give to people. I think you should care because whether you like it or not, progress is inevitable. You're going to be part of it or you're going to be left behind. You decide.
Yeah.
So I think on the minds of a lot of skeptics, right? Here's, if I was a skeptic, I would ask you, right? Several things. Well, because it's digital money that is on the internet.
Yep.
One, what if it gets hacked? And number two, how do I know, let's say, given that there are, I think, almost 1,000 over coins now.
Or more than 2,000 plus already.
2,000 plus coins already. How do I know which one is the currency, right? Let's say today, right? I know there's one big dog, which is the US dollar.
Yep.
Right? The rest just marches to the beat of the US dollar. So I'm clear I can measure things in US dollars. Everything is stable. The prices don't fluctuate. It's not like one day suddenly goes up 20 times, right? US dollars.
Yep.
So what would you say to those two what do you call that?
Arguments,
comebacks.
Yeah. Sorry, the first question was what again?
What if it's hacked? It can be hacked, right? Because
I'll address that question first because I also have experience from friends who have been hacked before. So let me make a general statement. If something is available online, there is always going to be a possibility that it can get hacked, right? If anything, you have an account, a Maybank, whatever, your bank account, online account, phone, whatever. If it's attached to the internet, a hacker can access it if they're smart enough to do it, right? So that's one. Crypto is that the risk of hacking is not unique to cryptocurrency only. It's in any online. But of course, because cryptocurrency is purely digital for the most part, then there's that risk there. So to minimize that risk, people sometimes have cold wallets where they store their cryptocurrency offline. The moment you detach it from Wi-Fi, even the best hacker in the world cannot hack it. The only problem is that you forget your password and you have 200 million sitting in your wallet and you don't know what the password is, which has happened before. The other issue I wanted to mention was, so I had friends, for example, they have their wallets online. They click on a phishing link, all right, wrong link. Their wallet gets drained.
I see.
And that happens. It's not that uncommon, right? It happens to many people. They click on the wrong link. Just the way that you get a phishing email, right? You think it's from your bank. You click on it, then all your money is gone. So that risk is always there. And the only way to counter that is to be educated and to be aware about it, and then to be careful with every link that you click.
Especially spam, right?
Especially spam, or just check lah. Do a quick background search. Ask your friends, hey, is this the correct one? Is this the correct one? Always good to check. It's always good to double check because sometimes this can happen, right? So that's the risk of hacking that I think is inherent with anything that is online. But the blockchain itself cannot be hacked. It's virtually impenetrable, right? Because it's been running since 2009 to 2021. And to hack it, you would need the amount of computer power to hack it is beyond human capacity. We don't have that capacity.
Even the best supercomputer in the world
can't do it.
And even if they do have that kind of resources, right? Is it really worth it or not?
Correct. It's not worth it because it's virtually impossible unless you had some alien technology lah. In fact, many people have tried to hack Bitcoin. Who wouldn't want to, right? If I can copy a Bitcoin digitally, I can be rich overnight. Nobody till today has succeeded right, to hack the Bitcoin network from 2009 to 2021. Many attacks, many attempts.
Yeah.
The only thing that hackers can succeed in doing is hacking an exchange.
Correct.
That's the one that targeted. So exchanges need to be more safe. And that has happened before, right?
Yes.
Many exchanges, almost all major exchanges have been hacked or something has happened in one way or another.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are vulnerable.
Yes.
Which is why people sometimes prefer the physical wallet. You can detach it and keep your wallet there. So again, there's always ways to minimize risk. I think the risk of hacking and scamming is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
You talk about Bitcoin, hacker. I'm like, Macau scam also. They call you on the phone, ask you to pay money to the mahkamah, and people still do it.
Correct.
And they lose thousands.
Hundreds of thousands
Hundreds of thousands, right? Exactly. So I mean, it happens in any situation. Unfortunately, there are greedy people who will take advantage of the people who don't know any better.
Yeah.
So that's to answer your first question. The second one on terms of value, right? Value of the
store
coins
of value, the stability.
Yeah. So I think when Bitcoin first came out, this wasn't so much of a problem because it was not worth 50,000, 60,000.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
It started as a few cents.
Yeah.
You know, and then so nobody cared about it. But now that it's worth so much and it's so volatile,
Yes.
people recognize that over the years are like, this is not very good for trading, right?
Yes.
It's too volatile.
Yeah.
And that's a problem that even in those days, currency between countries used to be volatile as well, and so that's why they standardize certain things. There's like this is valued to this and all that. So in the cryptocurrency world, the solution came in the form of stable coins.
Yeah.
Right. So stable coin is like USDT. It's pegged to the US dollar, right? So one US dollar should be equal to one cryptocurrency USDT. And there are a variety of a few different stable coins. USDT is currently the most liquid. In fact, they were actually going through a lawsuit in the US, which they recently settled by paying a fine.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, a lawsuit very easy, just pay the fine. And everybody's keep quiet. And all of us were actually scared because if they lose the lawsuit, there's a lot of liquidity in the market just gone
The
overnight.
repercussions are
Because people, I know, and later on when you talk about buying cryptos and all that, people hop on USDT to get into other cryptocurrencies.
Exactly, that's what I do as well, right? So because USDT, like you said, US dollar is the big dog, right?
Yeah.
Everybody looks to the US dollar, right? Even though whether or not you call cash is trash or not, we still use the US dollar as the common denominator, right? In the same way, USDT has now become like a common denominator.
Correct.
Of course, some people who don't like associating with the US dollar, they say Bitcoin should be the common denominator, but that's fine. You can argue about that.
Yeah.
But I like the stability that it offers, and it's very good for trading, right? So in fact, I used to work under a friend. He ran a writing company, like we write scripts for YouTubers and stuff like that. I just did one job, and they paid me in USDT. He said, "Do you accept payment in crypto?" I said, "Yeah, definitely." They paid me in USDT. They wouldn't pay me in Bitcoin because it's too volatile. It's hard to gauge how much to pay
Especially if there's a time duration. Let's just say when you took on the job, and then if they agreed to 1 Bitcoin, for example, and by the time the job is done, the Bitcoin value went up like 10% or 20%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work for certain currencies, cryptocurrency, excuse me, but stable coins provide what we need in terms of stability. And so I hope that answers your question.
That does make a lot of sense. So okay, there's so many ways I can fork this discussion.
Go ahead.
No, but I think the next one is people saying that, okay, fine, that's all great, but the problem is the legality surrounding Bitcoin. And in fact, it has been used for illegal activities.
Yeah, the Silk Road, for example.
Drug trafficking and all that. And money laundering and things like that. So is that a cause for concern? Is that a good reason not to really buy Bitcoin or to...
So that's an excellent question. I think you're talking about the ethics, right? The ethics of cryptocurrency and what happened. I'm like, if you're concerned about the ethics, then you should just give up on the whole financial system overnight, because I'm sorry, but cryptocurrency, there's nothing unique to cryptocurrency that we haven't already seen in the normal money markets, right?
Yeah.
Talk about scams, 1MDB, where did the money come from? It was all Malaysian ringgit, right? It was all our own money, right? You don't ever talk about cryptocurrency. Most of the scams in the world have been based on our our current financial system. Bitcoin was trying to address some of those issues, but there are always going to be unscrupulous characters. Whether you create a good technology or not, there's always going to be someone who wants to abuse it. And that's unfortunate, right? It's a good technology. We should be embracing it. Unfortunately, there's a stain on the Bitcoin history where, it was used for transactions in the dark web and stuff like that, because it keeps you kind of like anonymous. And so that happens. I'm afraid, that we just have to accept that whether we like it or not, there are bad people in this world.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we need to be bad, right? Where money can just be a tool. How you use it. Yeah.
It's a utility.
Exactly.
But it can be used either way, whether for good, for bad. There's always arguments of the intention of the use of the money.
Exactly.
Actually.
Yeah. Currently, I look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as an investment option. Does that mean it's a bad thing? No, I look at it as investment. That's how I'm perceiving it to be. Sure, there might be some people who try and do it for money laundering and all that. And, you know, I don't associate myself with that kind of crowd. I associate myself with investors and I want to use it, hopefully, you know, to be part of the future of technology and money and stuff like that. So I think people need to be willing to accept that as well. If you're touching paper currency, guaranteed it's probably gone somewhere that you don't even want to know about, right? Yeah. So I mean, it happens lah. The world is not as ideal a place as we would like it to be, but you know, we accept that these are the risks that are involved. I don't think it's a cause for concern because I think because Bitcoin is controlled by you, right? If you buy it, you can own it. You have a piece of it. You decide what you want to do with it. In fact, if you do bad things with it, it reflects more on the user.
Yes.
Like you said.
Yes.
It is more about who you are that you should be concerned about.
Yeah. Okay. So the future value of Bitcoin is, for a lot of people who are on the Bitcoin side, saying that it's because it's going to be the new form of currency, the new US dollar, right? And one thing I've been hearing is that that's not going to happen because Bitcoin can only be mainstream, and by that I mean 60%, let's say, of all monetary transactions, which is exactly what the US dollar is today. Or let alone even to reach the status of, let's say, the Japanese yen, which is sub 10%, right, of transactions. In order for that to happen, governments will need to accept it. And as every crypto enthusiast I've ever come across will say that Bitcoin is designed to be hated by governments. It's designed to be hated by central banks because they cannot print Bitcoin.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
they cannot control it.
Exactly, right? So they say that if governments don't accept it, if governments say no, we're not going to accept Bitcoin, like I think recently there was a ban in India that they got re-lifted, I think.
Yes, they kind of lifted it because they realized, you know what, we can't actually ban a decentralized currency.
But my question is, let's say all the central bankers come to the world and they say, no, we're not going to let this happen. And no country's going to use it. Wouldn't that be a damper on the price of Bitcoin?
So that's an excellent point you brought up. And I'll try and link it to the previous thing I mentioned. So throughout Bitcoin's history, when it was used on its own without any public attention was when it was unfortunately used in the dark web. Right? There was a whole financial system in the dark web that was based on Bitcoin. You paid in Bitcoin, whatever. That actually, although it's a stain, it has evidence to show that, wait a minute, even without the US dollar, even without the central banks, a financial system evolved on its own around Bitcoin. And it's proof of concept.
Yes.
It shows that it can actually work without any centralization. Of course, now in mainstream, we want to use it properly and all that. I think people need to be willing to accept a certain amount of centralization. The fact that you use an exchange is a form of centralization, right? Central banks, in fact, so talking about the Indian government example, we were reading the news. I had friends from India who were asking me, hey Ross, can I buy Bitcoin? I told them, you better be careful because your government wants to ban it, right? And then they seem to have done a U-turn. They were like, oh, wait a minute, you want to ban it? And I was looking at other crypto analysts online. They were like, they can try to ban it. People will just go through other means, right? Use a VPN, use something. You know, people are creative. When it comes to money, trust me, people are very creative. So it's difficult to ban. That's one, right? Of course, you can try and make it illegal if you want to, but it's challenging. So I think the government also realized the immense logistical nightmare it would be to try and ban something that's decentralized and digital. So they kind of made a bit of a U-turn. France, in fact, if I remember reading an article 1 or 2 days ago, France is trying to propose a legislation to allow their central bank to purchase Bitcoin. Right. Sweet. If I'm not mistaken, I briefly read through it. So I think whether we like it or not, you know, central banks are taking interest. They're already looking at it. I think that what they're doing is that they're figuring out how to work with it. It's something new that they're not familiar with. They cannot control it. And they've been controlling money for the past 700 years. Nobody has challenged them. Right? More than that, maybe. So now they have something they cannot control. The people can control. It's like, oh no, how do I centralize this now? Right? So they're probably going to try, even Bank Negara Malaysia. You know, I read there, they put cryptocurrency under the anti-money laundering report. Right? It's under anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism. They put cryptocurrency there. I was like, why would you put it there? You know, and then they said, very clearly, cryptocurrency is not legal tender in Malaysia. However, they don't say it's illegal. They say it's not legal tender, and they say people should take their own due diligence and assessment of risk. So they just wipe their hands clean. It's like, you do it yourself lah.
And this interesting is because you see, the way that it is classified right now is for the utility of it, which is to launder money. But they never come from a point of the better utility of it.
Correct.
And to your point about central banks not having control about, you think about the shadow banking system. I'm pretty sure you guys heard of the shadow banking system.
Yeah.
I'm not so familiar with shadow banking.
What is that? It's maybe topic for another podcast, but you think of it like, money chatties.
Okay. Oh, yes,
your money exchanges,
yes.
right? Can you imagine all these money chatties, right?
Yeah.
Do you think the central bank really has a track record of all the monies being exchanged around the world?
That is probably more money than the central bank.
Exactly.
No, I mean, shadow banking is like if I lend you money, let's say it's through WhatsApp, I need 10,000 ringgit. That's shadow banking.
Yeah, that's shadow banking
outside the system.
You're right.
And in China, it's so big. It's really, really big.
And it's big in China because and this is what Jack Ma got in trouble with, right? Because in China, it's weird, right? Because they're so risk averse. Only people who don't need loans get loans.
Yeah.
Right?
I see.
Yeah, because it's like if you're entrepreneur struggling, which is probably you probably need an additional 6 months of runway, so maybe you take a loan.
Yeah.
No, that's high risk.
Yeah.
So they're going to give all these big banks with big businesses.
Who don't need the money.
They don't need the loan. They give them the loan.
Yeah. So that's why there's an alternative system of shadow banking.
Correct.
Yes.
Right. So they were like peer to peer and all that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I actually forgot to ask this question. Right. We talk about cryptocurrencies in general, but specifically, what is Bitcoin?
Okay. The simplest definition I can give is that Bitcoin is a record of transactions on a ledger.
Okay.
Right? Let me try to break that down in the simplest way possible. It's a bit difficult sometimes to wrap our heads around it because it's so different a concept from what we know.
Right.
So imagine, like, for example, everybody around a table is taking notes of let's say we play a game of Monopoly. That's usually the example that's used, okay? Usually there's a banker in Monopoly, right? And the banker keeps track of everything.
Yep.
The other players just play and all that, but they may not keep track so closely. The banker keeps track of everything. That's a centralized system that we're used to. The bank keeps track of the flow of money. Let's say we decentralize it to come to Bitcoin, right? You have a notepad where you're keeping track of the transactions.
Yeah.
You have a notepad and I have a notepad and we're all keeping track of the transactions. Bitcoin represents that sort of like that record that we are writing that, okay, you have 100, let's say you start with 100 Bitcoin and then you give me 10 Bitcoin and then you give him 20 Bitcoin and I buy more from you. And so I have a ledger saying that if I total up this 100 minus 10 minus 20, that's how much Bitcoin I have.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of what Bitcoin is. It's a record of transactions.
Yeah.
Right? But even I sometimes when I explain to people, I'm like, wow, it's tough to wrap your head around it.
Yeah,
right? And so I ask them, I ask my students usually like, anybody know what a Bitcoin looks like? They were like, Bitcoin, everybody talk about it. Nobody knows what it looks like, you know? They don't know. They think it's like a gold coin. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just tap like that. I show them a picture and it's just numbers, lines.
It's codes.
And they're like, yeah, this is Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, this is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It is a flow of transactions from one account to another account. And that record is what makes it special is that record cannot be manipulated, cannot be hacked, cannot be changed, is immutable, is only one way. It cannot go back in reverse. And that is what Bitcoin represents, I think. This immutable record of transactions, right? And that's how that's the best way, I think, of explaining Bitcoin. Yeah.
Right. And I hear that one of the big reasons that Bitcoin is valuable is because unlike dollars or fiat, it is non-inflationary. In fact, they call it deflationary.
Deflationary, that's right.
So the reason fiat is inflationary, why your ringgit or your dollars grow smaller as time passes, is because the central government actually prints more of it.
Correct.
So if it prints at a faster rate than the number of, let's say, apples produced, then the apples will go up in price, right? Because there's now more money for the same amount of apples.
Exactly. Supply demand. I mean, the basic economic concept. In fact, I did not know about the word deflationary until I entered the cryptocurrency world. It was like, deflationary. I was like, what is deflation? Like air coming out of a balloon, is it? I only heard of inflation. And so when I understood deflationary, it's basically when you put a cap on the supply of something, it becomes automatically deflationary as long as demand is increasing, incrementally. So a good example that I give people, I always challenge my students like, what is valuable to you? It's like, it must have low supply, high value. It must be something, that is precious. It must be something that is, good quality and stuff like that. I was like, okay. Do you remember a few years ago, McDonald's released the Minions toy? convenience store.
yeah,
And I
yes,
used
yes.
that example as a case study. I was like, people queued up for 4 hours
Wow.
to get a piece
I
of
didn't
plastic.
know 4 hours.
Yeah, really.
Ross, do you remember so this is our era, right?
Okay.
You remember the Snoopies?
Snoopy's, yeah. I think
The
I
one,
vaguely remember.
all the countries, the Russia.
Yes, every country you collect,
got one
right?
Snoopy.
Yeah.
I think that
Exactly.
will count, right? Okay.
So I mean, it's a piece of plastic. It has what value and utility does it have? Basically nothing. People were selling it online on eBay and stuff like that for hundreds of dollars.
Yes.
Right? In Singapore, Malaysia, where people went crazy, they were ripping the shutters of the McDonald's to go in, right? There are videos online. They ripped the shutters, they broke the door. And I'm like, but it's a small piece of plastic. What utility does it have? People just flip and sell, or they get the pride of saying on social media, I got one. Right? So, and then, that's, I think Bitcoin in that sense initially was hyped up sort of like that. But now I think people, as they understand the utility and the technology behind it, understand that there's a capped market supply.
That's right.
We do not have any other currency equivalent in the world that has a capped supply because, printers can keep on printing.
Yes.
But algorithms do not, cannot print more, right? There's a cap on Bitcoin, which is 21 million, approximately 21 million, which should be reached in the year 2104.
Yes.
So we'll all maybe be dead by then.
So
Yeah.
based on that, so you said 21 million.
Yeah.
And supposedly that is the computer science behind the limitation.
Yeah.
The computer science actually limits.
Yes. Yeah,
the
it's like
number
it's
of
an
21
algorithm that is used to run the blockchain network, and that algorithm has been limited to 21. It's approximately 21 million. Of course, that will not be the exact number because people have lost bitcoins over the years or they lost their wallets. So
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, in
But-
circulation, it's meant to be around there.
But I guess my question is, okay, if this is code,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So what's stopping people from changing the code and saying, no, it's not 21 million, it should be 210 million now?
Yes, that's a good question. So the reason why it's not so easy is because it's decentralized, which
Yes.
means that, like we take the Monopoly example, right?
Yeah.
You have a record, you have a record, you have a record. Let's say another person has a record, right? 4 people. Let's say there's 4 people have a record of the transactions, right?
Yes.
If you change your record, the 3 of us will immediately know. They're like, wait a minute. No, MJ, only got 100 Bitcoin. How come yours has 500, right?
Yes.
We will know, right? So, and that's decentralization. Everybody has a copy of the Bitcoin ledger if they're connected to the network. If one person tries to change something, hack something, edit something, increase the number of Bitcoin or whatever, the rest of them will know, hey, wait a minute, something's not right. The network isn't syncing up properly. The computers will detect immediately there's an anomaly there,
Yes.
and they will ignore yours.
Yes.
It's not that people haven't tried. People have tried. People have tried to edit the blockchain and all that. They can't because everybody else in the network says,
Right.
fake. There's
Yes.
a scam, there's a scam. Okay,
Yes.
they'll quickly block you out and then they'll continue with the longest running network.
Yep.
Right? So I forgot the name. I think those blocks that are like the blocks that don't work, they're called ghost blocks or something. They just sort of like exist in cyberspace, but they were not added. The blockchain continues with the one that everybody agrees on. Now, here's the slight risk. It's called a 51% attack.
Right.
What happens is that if 51% of the computing power that's connected to the network, all 51% decide, let's do a change, then maybe something can happen.
Yes.
Right? This says, when major changes have happened, we call it a fork, F-O-R-K, a fork, right?
Yeah.
So there have been hard forks from Bitcoin. We call it Bitcoin Cash. Right? To make it Bitcoin faster, right?
Yeah.
People didn't like it. They want to make faster. Okay, we'll make a hard fork. Let's just, like 2 sections of people. I want red color, you want blue color. Okay, the red color people go here, blue color gang go here.
Yeah.
Right? But the main Bitcoin network still remains.
Yes.
You can fork many times from it. Litecoin was also another fork from Bitcoin to make it faster.
Yeah.
BCH was there and then a few others as well. But the main network is still there.
Correct.
Because people still believe in the main one, right?
Right.
So what might happen is that if a majority of people come together, they can create their own Bitcoin fork. But the main network, as long as people are still there, will still be there. Of course, that is dependent on human demand, whether people want to still
Right.
is it profitable to keep the network running?
Yeah.
So-
Currently, it is.
So if there's a lot of forks, right?
Yep.
Does that mean that there's a lot of issues with the currency? Because if the currency is good, why would there be so many forks? Am I right
No,
to say that?
there are definitely problems with Bitcoin. Bitcoin
Right.
is not perfect. It's based on 2008 technology,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It is slow. It is a bit clunky, as people say. I'm not a programmer, so I don't know like the
Right.
technical details behind
course, of
why.
course.
Yeah.
But for example, a simple explanation is like Bitcoin can take a certain limited number of transactions
Yes.
every few minutes, right? I forgot what the exact size of the block was, right?
Yeah.
8
I
megabytes
think
or something.
6 blocks, I remember.
9 blocks deep.
something along those lines. Again, I'm not.
I think you reach 6, then it verifies.
It verifies, yes.
That's one. Yeah. But each block can only take a certain number of transactions.
It's
right?
the size of the block as
it's
well.
Size of the block.
Okay,
Size of the block in terms of megabytes.
Yes.
Right. It's limited.
Yes.
It was based on 2008 technology. Okay.
Correct.
I don't blame Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah.
But because of that, it's slow.
Yeah.
Now, one of the weaknesses is that it's slow, so it takes about 10 minutes to verify a transaction. 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If it's busy, can take 20, 30 minutes also, and it's expensive. Now, that's one problem. The good side is that because it's slow, it's harder for people to hack. So it's more secure. It's slow, but with the slowness comes the security.
Yes.
Or rather, with the security comes a bit of a slowness.
Yeah.
So people made forks on the Bitcoin, like Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin, because they want to make it faster.
Fast.
Less secure in some sense to Bitcoin, but a lot faster. XRP, for example, can process in seconds.
Yes.
Bitcoin takes 10 to 15 minutes on average.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So those are some of the weaknesses, I think, of the Bitcoin network that is based on old technology. It's a bit clunky, it's a bit slow, but people are still using it because it's secure and people still have demand and therefore it has value.
Okay. So speaking of limited supply, right? I'm imagining, right, if I am in my 60s, boomers, right? My question would be, okay, limited supply, protect yourself against inflation, store value, whatever it is. Why can't I just go for gold?
Oh.
Why do I need to go Bitcoin and then put it on exchange, risk it being hacked? Why can't I just buy gold and then store it in the vault or something like that?
Sure, why not use both? Yeah, why not use both? I have a friend who invests in gold and then he takes a loan against his gold and then takes the loan money and goes buy Bitcoin. So I'm like, why not use both? I don't see any harm in using both. Although recently the prices of gold I think have dropped because people are, digital gold, I want digital gold and buy Bitcoin and all that. I mean, to me, I used to invest in gold. So I used to have a gold account with a bank and I was quite happy investing in gold. I was like, okay, it seems very secure, very stable, which is good. I like the stability and that it offset the risk from my other risky investments.
Yeah.
The problem was this. When I asked the bank, excuse me, can you allow me to withdraw my physical gold? Because I had about 20 grams of gold. Quite a fair bit, right? Can I withdraw the physical gold? And my friends have done it before. They get like a flake or like a bar, something like that, right? Can I withdraw the gold? They said, oh, sorry, we don't offer this service anymore. When they said that, I was like shocked. I was like,
they changed the terms.
This is mine.
Right. They changed the terms without us knowing. I was like, I bought gold from you with the intention that one day I'll get a bar of gold, right? Keep it in my safe or something. They said cannot. I was like, huh? This is very suspicious.
Yeah.
And so I decided, okay, you know what? I cannot trust that anymore. So I took out all my money and put it into digital gold, which is Bitcoin. But I do plan to, once I've made some profits, to channel some back into gold. Just for the sake of balancing, I think. I think it's always good to balance risk. Nothing is perfect. Gold is not perfect either. People use it as a store of value. I think that's fine. It certainly has a historical stability to it. That's fine. But it doesn't earn much money, right? If I want to earn money, I go in Bitcoin. Now, after I made profit, okay, let me store my profits in other more stable currencies or perhaps in gold. So I would say use both. I don't see a problem in using both.
Right.
Yeah.
Will you say that what you just described is the biggest reason? If let's say people could only pick one, of course, in the real way, you can pick both. But just for hypothetical illustration purposes, let's say you can only pick one. Is that the biggest reason why people should be opting for Bitcoin instead of gold?
I think Bitcoin provides a more easily accessible kind of a goal because it's digital. I can literally take my phone, done, buy Bitcoin in less than a minute.
Frictionless compared to...
Frictionless is a good word. Exactly. Gold, I need to set up an account, I need to go to the bank, I need to key in, I need to buy, and it's expensive.
You do KYC and all that.
So in that sense, frictionless is an excellent word. It's a lot easier for me to buy Bitcoin than it is to buy gold. And I can buy 1 ringgit worth of Bitcoin if I really... Okay. In Malaysia, Luno is about 3 ringgit. Okay, minimum is 3 ringgit.
Minimum 3, I think.
I don't think you can buy gold for 3 ringgit. Maybe you can.
And if you only have 1 ringgit to invest, I suggest there are a lot of things to solve in your life. Don't think about crypto.
I mean, other companies like Hello Gold have made it more accessible. That's fine. I think that's good. And it's always good to have different varieties of investments for people. But the thing, I think the advantage that physical gold has over digital gold, especially for older people, is because physical is something concrete I can touch, I can hold. It's tangible. It's tangible. It's been around for thousands of years. Everybody looks at gold. Gold ring la, gold watch la. It still has value, right? It still has intrinsic value. But then I challenge people like, intrinsic value, are you sure? How many of you use gold for its intrinsic value? Do you make copper? Do you make wires out of it for your electronics? Do you use it for chemical? What intrinsic value are you talking about? Can you eat a gold bar? Cannot. So I challenge people like, does it really have intrinsic value? Are you sure? But it's been around for thousands of years, and it's hard to get rid of something that's been around for so long and stuck in people's mind, especially in the older generation.
Correct.
My father doesn't invest in Bitcoin. I'm the son. I'm a cryptocurrency educator. My father always talks to me about it. Wow, price is going up, price is going up. I'm like, Papa, are you ready to invest? No lah, it's okay lah. I know it's okay for young people all. So he has that attitude. And I'm fine, I don't force him. He wants something that he is familiar with. Right? Yeah. And I'm fine. But I always tell progress is inevitable. But of course, he's older lah, so he doesn't feel the FOMO, I think.
I think part of the reason is also because if this is really a very young space.
It is.
And when I mean young, I don't just mean the duration of the space. I mean the people that is inside it, right?
Yes.
So I think many people see it as a to use a crude way, a middle finger to the current establishment, right? They don't really like it. Whereas boomers, people in their 50s, 60s, our dads and all that, they are in that age.
Yes.
So, and they in a way, they don't need to make money because they already have it.
Yeah.
Whereas those of us who are young, we want to make it, and crypto is kind of like the outlet.
Exactly. Right? It's taking power away from those big companies which used to hold all the power.
Yes.
Now I have the power. One of my friends gave this example. Is like sometimes when you go through a broker, for example, in stock market or whatever market, they take a fee from you. They will, if the dividends are paid to them directly first, they might give you, and then you can always run away the money, whatever lah. Yeah. If I buy a cryptocurrency, I am the owner.
Yes.
I own all the benefits and the risks that come with it. I have the power essentially. And I think people are slowly waking up and realizing, oh, I can take away power from those places and put it to myself.
Actually, the conversation about the father and son reminded me about Peter Schiff's latest.
Oh yeah, oh man.
Oh, what did he?
So he's for those who don't know, he's a big believer in gold.
Yes,
and his son's entire portfolio now is in crypto.
That's the funniest thing.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because you're right lah. Older people prefer the centralization, and younger people I think are waking up and.
In the case of Peter Schiff, that's interesting. He doesn't like centralization.
Yeah, Peter Schiff doesn't like it.
He doesn't. Because his father he got into problems with the law.
Okay,
and I believe he was jailed. Peter Schiff's father was jailed.
Okay,
so he has always hated centralization. He always hated the government.
I see.
So he in a weird way, right? He can actually argue for Bitcoin, but 90% of the way.
Right.
Yes.
Right? Because everything you say about Bitcoin can actually be used for gold as well.
Yeah.
A lot, right?
Yeah.
It's just that the tax side where there's a differing view, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
So anyway, so now let's talk about, so you talk about why Bitcoin, some of the myths about Bitcoin. Now let's talk about the practical side of things, right?
Yeah.
How do you actually go about buying and then storing crypto? What are your options?
Yeah, okay. So for Malaysians, thankfully, we have 3 registered exchanges in Malaysia, right? Luno, Tokenized, Synergy. I've briefly used all of them, but I genuinely
as of this recording.
As of
we
this
never know next year.
Who knows? Who knows? There might be more. I'm sure more people are applying for it, but it's not so easy to get licensed in Malaysia.
Yeah.
The Securities Commission is very strict. They want to make sure that whatever exchange gets licensed is going to be secure for Malaysians to use. And that's a good thing. I love the fact that they make sure that these companies are well established, that they're good companies, strong, they've got good security, so that investors are safe. Right? So like I said, I prefer Luno. I'm actually a Luno affiliate. So because I showed Luno that, I educate people on cryptocurrency, and they say, yeah, you can join as an affiliate. And I then, help to promote their platform as well.
Yeah.
Right? And I enjoy doing it because it's a good platform.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the fastest ways I think people can actually start buying cryptocurrency. They can download the app, verify. All you need to do is all you need to be is a Malaysian over the age of 18 with an IC. That's it. And you can already start downloading and verifying the app. If you want to, you can actually contact me.
Okay.
And I will be happy to give you my promotion code is LunoRos50.
Okay.
If you want to use it, just enter a reward code, put the code in. You will get a 50 ringgit reward of Bitcoin on your first 500 ringgit purchase. Right? Okay. So it's a 10% reward. It's a pretty good reward.
Yeah.
Right? 50 ringgit reward of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has a lot of value. So I've been using that code. I've been helping people. Anybody who uses my code has direct access to me. They can WhatsApp me, ask me questions, and people say, Ross, how do I do this? Can you send me a tutorial? And I'll be happy to show them. But it's actually, I've been getting a lot of feedback that it's really, really easy to use. Luno has made it very accessible for Malaysians to use. And how Luno operates is they have what is known as a hot wallet, right? So Luno's wallets are all online. I can access it from my app. right? It's all online. And like I said earlier, hot wallets have that risk that hackers can somehow hack into it if it's online. Now, how Luno mitigates the risk is with their own security protocols and procedures. Thankfully, Luno has never been hacked before. Many other platforms have been hacked before. Luno has never been hacked. Very secure, which is excellent. It's good news for Malaysians like you and me, that we can use it confidently, right? Does that mean it's absolutely perfect? No. There are some risks. For example, PIDM does not insure cryptocurrency, right? So there's no insurance for it, unfortunately. But at least the Securities Commission does guarantee that this is a secure platform. It's safe for Malaysians to use. So that's good. That's how people can get started. I would say Luno is an excellent place. Luno also has resources on their blog to teach people how to do it. Or I also do classes on Thursday nights. Follow my social media and be happy to teach you. WhatsApp me. I'll be happy to help you as well. That's one of the ways to get started.
Right. So I can buy any coins on Luno. Is that right?
So one of the limitations is that because in Malaysia we have our regulations, our regulators want to make sure that Malaysians are not exposed to too much risk. So there are some coins that can go up 200% one day and then drop by 700% the next day. And I've seen those coins in real life as well. So they only have 4 coins available on Luno. One is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin and XRP. Now, what's also special in Malaysia's case, because we have Sharia court and Sharia laws for Muslims especially, if I'm not mistaken, and I read this carefully, so I'll be sure to say this right, all of these coins are considered halal, right? Sharia compliant, right? That's a better word. Sorry, not halal, excuse me. Sharia compliant. So Muslims can freely purchase and use them and trade with them without having to fear any repercussions, right? Those 4. The rest of the coins in the world, there are, like I said, 2,000 different coins, right?
Dogecoin, Jesus coin, whatever.
There are so many coins in the world. So I think our regulators also want to make sure that, Malaysians are kept away from too much risk. We want to make sure that they can invest, but invest in safer, sort of like more stable coins.
Right. But even like, for example, you mentioned earlier on about stable coins, USDT, right? So that, for my understanding, there's no stable coin in
so here's the interesting
so how do I
thing.
get on stable coins?
Luno is actually introducing USDC, which is another form of stablecoin. It's similar to USDT, but USDC, the company is well audited, right? So it's actually a bit more secure than USDT. And they're actually adding it. The only issue is that I think they're adding it to other countries like Singapore first. Our Malaysian regulators, unfortunately, I don't think have given approval for it yet. I'm actually in talks with one of my managers who manages my affiliate program, and she's been saying that, Luno is constantly fighting for all these extra benefits to be added to Malaysians users, but the regulators just need to be, they need to do their research, they need to investigate, make sure that everything is safe first. And there are certain rules, I think, that our regulators have that they're not willing to expose us to certain things. And I understand where they're coming from as well, although it can be frustrating. It's a nice stable coin to have. In fact, Luno in Singapore, they actually give interest on Bitcoin. If you keep your Bitcoin there in the wallet in Luno, you will get, I think, 4% interest per annum, something like that. Something along those lines, if I remember correctly. And that's wonderful. And people in Malaysia asking me, hey, Ross, I see Luno is giving interest on Bitcoin. Can I? I was like, unfortunately, Malaysia, we don't have it yet, but we are fighting for it.
So what are the other alternatives to, in a way...
for investors?
Let's say I'm impatient. I really want to get on USDT. I want to buy all these other 2,000 coins. What do I do?
So what you can do is you can go to other platforms. Now, one of the ones that I use is called Binance. Binance is very big in Asia. It comes from China. It's run by a guy named CZ and his company, right? It is either the biggest or the second biggest in the world.
I think it's among the top 2.
Top 2.
I think that one's Coinbase.
Coinbase more for Americans. And the rest of the world all pretty much Binance, right? Binance is what we refer to most of the time. So Binance is very easy to sign up. Again, you need some kind of verification. People are a bit concerned about hey Ross, I need to give my IC picture and all that.
But then to the bank, they give everything.
Exactly. Because you trust the centralization. So, the exchanges are centralized in a sense, right? It's run by a company. The exchange is run by a company. And so you can sign up with Binance. Binance has hundreds of cryptocurrencies to choose from. You can buy USDT via... So the only risk here is that... in Binance, to buy something like USDT, you have to do it P2P. Right? P2P is the basic way. P2P is peer-to-peer, which means that there's other Malaysians who hold USDT and you want to buy from me. Let's say, for example, I have 1,000 USDT you want to buy. So 1,000 USD is about 4,000 ringgit approximately, right? So you have 4,000 ringgit in your bank account. You will transfer your money to my bank account. I will release the USDT to you. Okay?
Yeah, sorry. Go on.
Sure. Oh, okay. Water break.
Okay,
no problem.
I see that you're running out of water, so...
No problem.
Go ahead.
So that's how the P2P function on Binance works, and I've been using that very regularly. Some people don't like that because, can trust me? Someone going to transfer money to me? What if they don't transfer? And so scams can happen, these things can happen. So you always go with verified sellers, right? There are verified sellers on the list. And, you have to be careful and smart as well, regardless of what you're using, And so Binance, you buy USDT, and because USDT is quote-unquote the online equivalent of US dollar, it's like the big dog, you can buy practically any cryptocurrency on earth with the USDT, right? It's very liquid, it's very stable and all that. So people, I would recommend, if you don't want to use, or if you're using Luno as a Malaysian, that's great. If you want to explore other options, use Binance. But Binance is a bit more complicated. So I would say start with Luno as a beginner, get used to the market, then move on to Binance. And I also teach some simple tutorials on Binance as well.
Great. So if let's say if I'm a true and blue crypto, I believe that I don't want anyone to know my information.
Right.
I don't believe in centralized system because Luno and Binance are centralized exchange. Is there a way for me to actually buy crypto but not from centralized people?
Yes, you are absolutely right. There is a possibility. It's called DeFi, decentralized finance. In fact, that was how Bitcoin was birthed, right? It was birthed as a decentralized finance tool. And then, so we have decentralized markets, they call DEX, right? DEX, decentralized exchange, where it's basically everything a centralized exchange has, but this is just sort of like a site where you are interacting directly with users. You don't go through a centralized platform, you go through a decentralized platform. You have wallets like MetaMask, for example, to access these decentralized exchanges. Unfortunately, I am more of a centralized guy. I prefer some simplicity in my life, and I like the centralized exchanges that they make things like there's a customer service that I can go to for help. Right? My friend who was on decentralized exchange, he bought this token. His account got hacked. He lost 4,000 ringgit in 1 second like that. Just because you get hacked is instant, right?
Yeah.
Who can he complain to? There's no customer service. Yes. There's no central authority. Nobody can help him.
It's the Wild West.
Exactly, it's the wild west. So, I mean, yes, you don't want to trust your banks or centralization. You don't want it. Okay, but you must accept the full risks that come with that. And the full risk is that you can get burned very badly. And I've seen people get burned and their whole account is just drained like that. At least on Binance, when Binance got hacked, they refunded the money back to people, right? There's a central authority there to protect your needs. There's a customer service there to answer your questions, right?
Yes.
In decentralized, and I'm also still learning in the space. I'm not very knowledgeable in DeFi yet. I'm experimenting, I'm learning. So that's something I'm looking forward to learn more about because I do think that it is important. It is important to have some power in your hands.
Because there is definitely the reason why it was created, I'm pretty sure, was because there is a need for decentralization. People, like what you said, but Bitcoin was created to be a decentralized system.
Exactly.
But right now you're seeing two schools of thoughts. One is a centralized system and one is the DeFi, right? There's definitely a need for it.
Right.
So
what I'm hoping for is that a combination of decentralized and centralized, right, together, working together to reach what is known as the unbanked. So I have a friend who works in Bank Negara Malaysia. I won't say his name. I'll keep it anonymous. But he works there and he was telling me that one of the things that the banks try to do sometimes is to reach the unbanked. But it's very difficult. People who have no credit history, people who have no bank account, people who still need money to survive, right? People who have whatever circumstances in their life, they don't have a bank. They don't have any currency easily accessible to them. And Bitcoin and decentralized finance offers them this opportunity. I just need a phone and an internet connection. I can own currency in the way that I cannot get from a bank or a loan or something like that, where the centralized authorities are giving all these limitations and you must give me your form la, I need to see your IC la, this document la.
Or proof of income.
Something like that, right? And some people don't have that. I lost my job during MCO. I was a full-time entertainer. I completely zero income for 6 months. How could I, if I needed a loan for money to get by?
Or even get a credit card. I don't think anyone...
I can't get a credit card. My brother and I were struggling to get credit cards because we mostly work part-time. It was really tough. But I took the first loan in my life was from a cryptocurrency platform. I took one loan, approved in 24 hours, 100% approval rate. They didn't ask for my credit history. They didn't ask for my credit score. They didn't ask for my income. They didn't ask what my race is, what my ethnicity is. They didn't ask my age, nothing.
But they did a KYC on you, obviously.
KYC with my passport. Yes, definitely. Everybody needs to do KYC. That's very important. And,
so what is this platform? You gotta share with us.
Oh, I'm happy to share. I'm also an ambassador of this platform, quote unquote. Disclaimer. So it's called Celsius. Right? It's called Celsius. They recently reached their asset under management crossed the 10 billion mark.
Wow.
That's a big achievement for us. And I've been with the platform since November last year. So still a fairly new user. But man, the platform has been growing exponentially, right? Really been growing. And then, so how Celsius functions is like a bank, but cryptocurrency kind of bank. So that's interesting, right? It's the combination of centralization and also cryptocurrency.
Yes.
And they're trying to merge it together. And so what they function is very simple. In all our savings accounts, all of us have savings account interest, right?
Yeah.
Your banks. What do you think is the savings interest in Malaysia?
Fixed D.
Saving,
no, not fixed D.
Savings. I think
Basic savings
0.1, 0.2.
Oh, 0.1, 0.2 is very, 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 very optimistic. It's much lower than that.
Okay.
So for a person who has like 10,000 ringgit in the savings account, usually savings rate is about 0.25.
Oof.
0.25, right? And it's so little. It's so little that it's almost pointless.
Okay.
Right? Even fixed deposit. What's the fixed deposit rate? Maybe
1.75, I think, based on the latest OPR. Yeah.
If you're lucky, maybe 2-3%. If you're really lucky, you know.
Yeah.
And in Celsius, what they do is you deposit your cryptocurrency, just like how you do in a bank. You deposit ringgit in a bank, you deposit cryptocurrency in Celsius, and they give you interest. The Bitcoin interest, if I remember correctly, is about starting at 5%. Starts at 5%, you know.
Starts, what do you mean by starts
at 5%? That means, so because cryptocurrency is volatile, the market fluctuates. So the interest savings rate per annum can change from time to time.
Okay.
Sometimes it's 6%, right? When I first started, it was 6%. Then the market went down a bit, it corrected to about 5%. Then if the market goes bullish again, it might go up to 6% again.
Yeah.
So that rate is always fluctuating based on the market.
Floating rate lah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But they do try to keep it standardized. They do try to keep it as much as possible as to a particular rate. Otherwise, if it floats too much, it's a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Right? So for example, let's say I have 10,000 ringgit. I put in ringgit into my bank account.
Okay.
And they give me 0.25% per annum.
Yeah.
It's basically nothing, right?
Yeah.
So then I take the 10,000 ringgit, I buy Bitcoin and I put into Celsius. I get 5% per annum.
Yeah.
After 1 year, which one I'm going to have more money? Of course, the Bitcoin account.
Correct.
And Bitcoin is constantly appreciating in value.
That's right.
At the moment lah. My ringgit Malaysia, if anybody thinks ringgit Malaysia going to appreciate, then I think, I would love to live under your rock as well lah. But I don't think that's happening anytime
It's a
soon.
very big rock, man.
At least not in 1 year.
Back to the point of inflationary and deflationary.
Exactly.
So I've actually never taken an FD in my life before.
Oh,
and so, but I presume that you receive fixed deposits at the end of the year.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
Correct.
there's two choices. Either you can deposit the proceeds of your interest back into the fixed D, that means you roll it, or you can actually have the option of it banked into your account after 1 year. It depends on the duration.
Right.
So you can actually take a fixed D, the shortest is actually 1 month. And then the longest is obviously you can negotiate with the bank. Sometimes you can even take in, the longer you keep it in, the higher the interest rate.
Right.
Because you lock in.
Okay, so is this the same for Celsius?
No, it's completely different. What Celsius wants to do is they want to go away from the limitations that banks have. A simple example is this. I'll start with one and then I'll talk about the interest. In savings accounts in banks, if you have 10,000, you qualify for 0.25, right?
Yes.
If you have 300,00001, not all banks, but the bank that I looked at, 300,001 ringgit, you get 0.8%.
Higher.
So higher, it's a little bit higher, 0.25 to 0.8 is a difference, but it's not even 1%. But you need 300,000 ringgit in capital to put in the savings account or fixed deposit, whatever it is.
Right.
In Celsius, I can put $1 worth of Bitcoin, I can put $100 worth of Bitcoin. I will earn 5% regardless.
Great.
And that's something that Celsius is doing that no bank does. Banks reward the wealthy.
Yeah.
You put in more money for a longer period of time, you get more interest.
Correct.
Celsius says, no, we're not like that. We want to treat everybody equally.
Socialist.
Right?
So
Yeah, you could kind of say that, but everybody's
No,
the
just kidding.
CEO earns
Yeah.
the same interest I earn.
Yeah.
How many companies do you know do that?
There's no tier in a way that favors the rich.
And also to answer MJ's
Right.
question as well, the interest is paid on a weekly basis, so it can compound weekly, which is excellent. Unlike a fixed deposit, if you take out early, they'll penalize you by taking the interest away.
Correct.
Right? So if you have to withdraw for whatever reason, in Celsius you can withdraw. You can put in today, take out tomorrow. They will not penalize you for anything. Yeah.
wow, that's very interesting. But
Yes.
I guess, of course, then the next question will be, one is how do they even make money?
Yeah.
Right, because they're
excellent
paying so
question.
much interest, right?
Yeah.
And the interest is in the cryptocurrency itself, right? Like Bitcoin receives interest with Bitcoin.
Yep. How does it work?
So how do they even make money? Because a bank is very clear, right? They take money from you, they loan to someone else at a higher interest rate, they make the money.
Yep.
So that's a bank, but how does Celsius does it? Secondly, how do we know that it's secure, right? Because a bank, we trust a bank in ways because it's secure. It has all these rules and regulations. So what is it for Celsius?
Okay, so to address the first question, how do they make money? In fact, it's fun because last night is Friday. Usually on Friday nights, I do this introduction to Celsius.
Right.
I invite the public to join. So if anybody wants to, know more, they are watching, they can come and join my talks. I'll leave links to that with you guys. So Now, how they make money, they call it the Celsius flywheel token economics, which is a fancy word, right? Fancy word for, how the business runs lah. Okay, in banks, we're used to the traditional system of banks. Actually, Celsius operates on a very similar system. Like I said, they're almost like a bank, but not quite. Okay, so how it works is like this. I put in my cryptocurrency as an asset into Celsius's accounts, right? Yep. Celsius then takes cryptocurrency and loans it out to institutions who we call as market makers, right? So these market makers, they want to make profit by trading cryptocurrency in large volumes. But what they don't want to do is they don't want to take on the risk of buying it themselves. What they do is they have a lot of cash reserves and collateral. Yeah. They collateralize their cash reserves. They borrow the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency from Celsius. They go and make their money in the market, bullish, bearish, whatever, they make their money, and then they pay an interest back to Celsius. So Celsius collects all the interest from these market makers and then pays the interest back to the users. That's essentially what banks do as well. The problem is banks give you 0.25%, right? Celsius gives you starting at about 4-5% interest, right? Because they try to give whatever, let's say they earn $100, 80% of that, in terms of profit, $100 profit, 80% is channeled back to the users. 20% is for their business expense. Right. Now, of course, everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt. Yeah. Right? How do you know it's exactly 80%, not 79, not 78? We won't really know if that changes. We have to trust the company behind it. In terms of security, right? That's where this question comes in. Yes. How many of you actually do background research on banks in local banks?
Even if you want to, I don't think they're going to reveal their books to you.
Exactly. Nobody reveals anything to you. At least well, I mean, Celsius doesn't reveal all their information because they all have their own definite trade secrets as well. They do, however, tell us community information like how much Bitcoin is now in Celsius, what's the asset under management. So in terms of security, this is what I like about Celsius, and that's why centralization is important. One thing that they have is that they are audited in the UK. So that's very good. I don't see many platforms which Binance might be audited. I'm not sure. I don't think they are, but I have no idea. Even Luno, I've never seen like a Luno audited report. Maybe they do have one.
By SC or BNM.
Probably, but it's not available to public as far as I've seen online. But as Celsius has one and I found it online, right? So that's one audit. I like the fact that it's audited. That's good. That's a good point. The second one that's regulated as well. Now the SEC, which has been giving companies like XRP and USDT problems, the SEC has actually approved Celsius. They have a regulation on SEC. You can go and find it. I went actually searched it myself. I saw the document with the CEO's name, and I was like, oh, okay. So Celsius does have some kind of approval. Now, I will say this as a disclaimer, because the SEC and all government agencies are still trying to understand cryptocurrency, these are all conditional sort of approvals, which have a certain time limit. So maybe 3 years, 5 years. Yeah. After that time expires, we don't know what the regulations might change, right? So there is a slight risk. But the fact that they got it gives me a lot of confidence. They've also got other, excuse me, I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, FCA or something. It's
the UK.
It's a UK one, a provisional FCA thingy. So again, these are all provisional, time-based, because regulators don't know how to deal with cryptocurrency yet. They're still figuring it out.
They're still learning.
As we are progressing exponentially. They're still learning. But the fact that Celsius plays well with regulators makes me happy because they're playing well. They've got an established presence. They're international company and all that. So I hope that answers your question on security, right?
Right. Yeah. And also, I think if you're listening to this and you think banks are safe, right? Like 2008, bro.
Yeah, that's the best example.
Yeah. So and I think it's quite interesting that Bitcoin was created. I mean, literally, the crash started, I think, September 2008. And October.
Satoshi came out with it. Now, here's an interesting point. You just reminded me. Yeah. So talking about Celsius again. By the way, if you want to join a Celsius, I'm happy to give you my referral code. I'm an ambassador as well. So I can have a direct connection.
Unfortunately, I open it.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
I open it under Gabriel's, that one.
Oh, Gabriel steal my market share. It's fine.
It's called UK FCA. Financial Conduct Authority.
Yeah. When I actually sent the audit report of Celsius to my friend who is an auditor, first thing he said, do they have FCA? I was like, what is FCA? Then I went on the website. I was like, oh yeah, got provisional FCA. Yeah. They haven't, I think they're still working out the things with them, but they got it. And then my auditor was like, oh, okay, good. The only thing he commented, I think, was because in cryptocurrency world, because everybody invests their assets into the platform. Correct. So the platforms there are no external investors. They raise the funds themselves. So he said that's one thing that, if other companies invest into Celsius, they would have done their due diligence as well. So like, let's say Maybank invests in Celsius, Public Bank invest, then you can trust that the banks have done their groundwork for you. Yeah. Now you have to do the groundwork yourself.
Public Banks in Celsius.
That'd be really fun. even like so he said when other companies invest into Celsius, then they've done their due diligence.
Correct.
Right? So but now we have to do it ourselves.
Yes.
Right? In cryptocurrency, kind of like you have to be your own bank lah.
Actually, you think of it,
Yeah.
you are like a PE fund already,
Yeah,
because if a public listed company, they want to raise funds through a private placement, right?
Yeah.
The private placee will have to do his own due diligence, and
Yeah.
only high net worth guys usually get to do that. Now you get to do it,
Yeah, everything's online. So
Yeah.
just do your own research. And I was
Yeah.
going to say, so talking about the crash in 2008, right? The banks, they gave out too much risky loans.
Yeah.
People couldn't pay back, right? Everything, the whole finances, the government had to come and bail them out. So then people ask me, so Celsius gives out loans also what? What if people cannot pay back? So I'll give you an example. I took a loan where I put some Bitcoin as collateral. Celsius only allows you to take loan if you have collateral.
That's the key point.
That's the key point.
Yeah.
And the collateral has to be 4 times the amount of the loan.
Oh.
So I took a loan of about 1,020 USD. So it's about 1,020 US dollars. It's about 4,000 ringgit, right? My Bitcoin collateral had to be 4 times that amount. It had to be worth 4K at the time, right? So for 4K collateral, I get a 1K loan. Even if there's so much collateral that even if I don't pay back the 1K loan, they can just take 1/4 of my collateral and then give me the remainder, right? So in that sense, Celsius cannot lose because there's always going to be collateral there for them to just take, and then they sell off and then they cover their costs. They cannot lose, and that keeps the platform stable and it prevents anything like what happened in 2008 where they give out too much risk and people cannot pay back and then they don't have enough money.
That's a very good point.
When I think about the current, don't talk about extreme situation, the current one, right?
Yeah.
You can actually take a loan 9 or 10 times of your collateral in a bank, right?
It's the reverse.
Right?
the
Because like a
reverse.
house, like a
Yeah.
house.
And you don't need collateral, you just need income. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, exactly, like credit cards especially, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's that. If you look at it from that perspective, it's like way more risky than
Exactly.
And the worst part, since you brought up that point, MJ, in this Celsius case, the collateral sits with them.
Correct.
Yeah.
But in the bank's case, when they're giving us loan, the collateral sits with us. If you think about it, if you want to recover your collateral asset, like let's say your motorcycle or your car,
you just take it out.
Yeah.
you
Just
need
QR
to
code
get someone to repossess, But for
Correct.
Celsius, you don't need a repossessor.
It's in the app. They have it in the app.
That's
It's locked
crazy,
in the app.
man.
Yeah.
And so they have things like the margin call and all that. So, but so far it's never been triggered yet, because the market has been very, very bullish.
Yeah.
Do they have insurance? Are they insured?
So insurance, they do have some level of insurance. The issue with cryptocurrency is hard for people to insure because it's so risky, right?
Right.
But they do have insurance on what is known as cold storage. So remember, I think like cold wallets.
Yeah.
Some of the assets in Celsius are kept offline in their cold storage, right? Because they want to reduce their risk as well. That is insured.
Yeah.
Right? Definitely, because it's easy to insure, it's offline, right? But when the assets are being lent out to you or to institutions who are loaning it, because it's out as a loan, it's not insured. However, that institution, in order to borrow, needs to provide more collateral. The same way I provide collateral, they provide collateral. So if anything happen, Celsius will use the collateral, liquidate it, and then go and pay back if let's say someone were to default. That's one. Secondly, if there's an event of a hack, Celsius has personally, in a statement said, the CEO said we have about 700 million on our balance sheet. If there is a hack, we will use our own personal money, 700 billion up to about that. 700 million. And use it to pay back the users should there be a hack. And this has happened to other platforms before. Thankfully, Celsius has never been hacked since the day of operation.
So I mean, I'm just doing some math, right? So you're saying that they hit 10 billion.
They hit 10 billion AUM. So assets under management, all the users combined together just hit 10 billion.
So as of now, it seems to me that 700 million is not very adequate in the event that there is everyone.
Definitely. I always be clear on this. Cryptocurrency is a risky place to go. Insurance companies have not got some insurance that is amazing to how do you insure 10 billion?
How do you underwrite?
How do you insure 10 billion? It's almost impossible. So anything, take with a pinch of salt. Do your own assessment of risk. Please don't put all your eggs in one basket. Please, those who are listening, please don't put all your money into Celsius because it sounds so amazing, right?
Yeah, right.
Put a portion of it there. That's fine. So yes, insurance is always going to be an issue, I think. However, the CEO has recently stated in his weekly Friday videos, they want to do a community insurance. So what they're doing is they will give you, so let's say I'm earning 5% interest on my cryptocurrency, my Bitcoin. A small 0.3% of that will go towards a community-funded insurance that will insure all our stuff, right? So a small percentage. Of course, I don't think it's possible to insure 10 billion. Right? It's just virtually impossible. But they will take a small community fund which we can opt for. Let's say I want to be part of this insurance. Should anything happen, I can allow some of that profit not even my Bitcoin, the profit that they're paying me to be going into the insurance. They haven't launched it yet, but they've been mentioning it on their weekly sessions on YouTube, on the live sessions with this year. So I think that's wonderful.
Great.
That is giving the power back to the community to decide.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Okay. Look, I hate to end the podcast, but before we end, I just want to check in, right?
Yep.
So what are you working on now in crypto? What is your latest discoveries?
Yeah.
What are you excited about?
Right. So I'm currently teaching psychology, right, at a college. Unfortunately, it's only a part-time job. And in this kind of season of MCO, I need a full-time income, right?
Great.
And cryptocurrency has been very exciting for me. I really enjoy teaching about it as well. There's a lot of demand. So I've actually applied to work at Luno, right? Luno, Malaysia's Sdn Bhd. I don't think there's anything wrong with me saying that. I think it's truthful. It is true. I've applied. I'll be going for my interview soon. I passed through their first two hurdles, you would say. The resume pass, then they give you a document where they ask you questions and you have to answer. Pass that as well. Now the interview is the next one.
I see.
So
Nice.
if I get hired there, then I'll be working there full time, fully in the cryptocurrency
Then
space.
become a crypto ambassador.
Yeah, man. I'm more than happy. I think it's been very beneficial to me and to others as well. So that's what I'm working on getting a full-time job in the crypto sphere.
Okay.
Second thing I'm working on is I am trying to slowly work on my own personal websites where I want to upload, information and videos and tutorials. I love doing tutorials for people.
Great.
Teaching them how to buy Bitcoin, how to do this. And people have been messaging me one by one, but it's so hard to reply 100 messages a day.
It's not scalable.
It's not scalable. So I need to, now I'm struggling to come up with a nice website and everything. And I've been asking for advice from even MG has been giving me advice, and how to start scaling it online so that people can easily access resources. I can sell products, maybe even write a simple like how-to Bitcoin book or whatever, right? So those are my future plans. But hopefully once I get my foot in the door, I think then everything will just, take off from there.
Great.
Yeah.
Looking forward. I mean, there's so many things I had to leave out, right? Like
Yeah.
we couldn't
No
talk
worries.
about NFTs, we couldn't talk about
man.
yield farming, we haven't talked about altcoins and all
there's
that.
so
Tons.
much.
Yeah,
There's so much.
it is truly mind-blowing.
I did want to mention though, I launched my own cryptocurrency token.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's the one thing I should mention. It's called Afro token.
Okay.
It is not available publicly. It's for private sale only.
Okay.
What I did was I was experimenting. Can you create your own cryptocurrency token? And certain developers have created a simple website application.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
pay a small fee, and it creates a token for you. It's called Afro token. It's
Wow.
literally called Afro token because,
Afro hair.
Solid, man.
So I thought,
All right. Look, I can't wait to have you back on this podcast for a part 2.
definitely.
Unfortunately, we had to, end it. But before we end, where can people find you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm very accessible on Instagram and WhatsApp. Those are my 2 main channels.
Okay.
I have a website that's in development, so hopefully I'll be announcing
Okay.
that soon. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at MagicRoss7, MAGICROSS, and then number 7.
Not
Ross.
Maggie.
Not
Ross.
Maggie, not
Yeah.
Maggie Cross.
Magic,
It's Magic Ross, because I started off as a magician and it's still a big part of my life.
Yeah.
The second way is through my WhatsApp, 012-682-3394.
I think you want to slow down on that. Repeat that again.
012-682-3394. Sorry, I thought I was
Okay.
like part of a pizza commercial.
You need to create a song out of it.
Yeah, man. If I do, then I have a jingle.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 best ways to contact me: WhatsApp and Instagram. And hopefully my website coming up soon. And then once that's there, then perhaps I can give you guys links to that as well.
Looking
That's solid,
forward,
man.
Looking
It's
forward.
been a pleasure to have
Absolutely
you on
a
the
pleasure.
podcast.
My side as well.
You will
Thank you.
You will be back. You will be
Definitely.
back. I insist, right? And guys, hope you've been enlightened.
Yeah.
Hope you are now slightly less skeptical about cryptocurrencies, because my view has always been that people are looking at it as purely as an investment.
Yeah.
But I've seen this on the FIRL Instagram story as well, is that whether you think it's an investment, a good or bad investment or not, right, is totally irrelevant. Because I don't know whether Bitcoin will win. I don't know whether Bitcoin will be worth more than it will be in 10 years. But I know for a fact that if you don't study this, if you don't study this field, you will be left behind.
Yep.
And if you have children, and if you do study it, they're going to thank you because you studied it. And you're going to give options to your children that is completely unimaginable.
That's right.
So hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast, and see you guys in the next one.
Goodbye.
All right. Thank you.